Following the conclusion of Raiden Shogun's banner, Sangonomiya Kokomi has been released in the second half of Update 2.1. She is the first Genshin character that is designed against critical hits, with her kit flat out giving her negative 100% crit rate. This has caused her to be unjustly perceived as an underperforming character when compared to other rated units, with many labeling her as a trash character. As always, KQM will let you know what's actually going on with Kokomi before you wish. Before You Wish is a video series dedicated to noting the good, bad, and ugly of characters in Genshin Impact. Many aspects of a unit are not apparent to the average Genshin player, even after playing them in the trials, due to the inaccurate testing environment that can make these characters seem better than they truly are. Explicitly noting the pros and cons of these characters in full detail should inform you about how to push them to their highest potential and what it costs to do so. As always, if you enjoy a character for reasons like their voice actor, aesthetic, or personality, these videos are by no means meant to stop you from spending your Primo Gems on them. Instead, they should prepare you for the type of problems you'll need to solve or work around to meet your gameplay expectations. Before we begin, we would like to mention that KQM does not condone any hate towards specific units and the people wishing for them. Although units may have their flaws, it is not okay to attack players who use them. Please be respectful towards others, even if you disagree with their choices or reasoning. Sangonomiya Kokomi is another attempt by miHoYo at designing a character with a completely unique stat distribution and optimization. Now, this isn't a new concept in Genshin, as many other characters in the past have had different scalings. Kokomi, however, has additional aspects in her kit which set her apart from others. What makes her especially unique are her passives. Her 4th Ascension passive, Song of Pearls, gives Kokomi bonus HP scaling on her burst normals and charge attacks based on 15% of her healing bonus. This ties in with her other passive, Flawless Strategy, in which she gains 25% healing bonus while losing 100% crit rate. From her talent descriptions, it is clear that she is meant to be on-field and should be built with non-traditional stats, such as healing bonus, while completely ignoring crit rate and crit damage. Because of this, Kokomi can afford to have minimal investment to obtain usable artifacts. However, there are issues with this as well. Due to her inability to stack crit effectively, players must invest in the HP percent due to her scaling her elemental burst provides. As a result of this, Kokomi does not typically invest much into attack, which causes the damage she deals outside of burst to be almost negligible. On top of this, Kokomi has a 70 cost elemental burst, with very little to recoup this cost in her kit. Because Kokomi's elemental skill generates random amounts of energy over a long period of time, she is incentivized to invest in energy recharge on her artifacts, at the cost of more HP percent. As an on-field unit, Kokomi's damage is gimped by her high energy requirements without Prototype Amber or Everlasting Moonglow, which both provide energy refund. If players opt to ignore her burst and use her solely for her jellyfish, she loses access to the HP scaling on her burst and healing bonus percent scaling from her 4th Ascension, making her inability to crit a much bigger drawback. Lastly, the fact that she mostly scales off of HP percent and healing bonus makes her damage ceiling low, because there aren't support units in the game which increase teammates' HP and healing bonus. The direct result of her desired stats and kit cause her personal damage to be lower than a typical carry. However, while her personal damage is subpar, her survivability and ability to provide comfort can be particularly valuable in many teams. Currently, her elemental skill is the only other consistent off-field hydro source outside of Xingqiu's rain swords. Mona's Phantom and Barbara's Melody Loop do not last long enough and do not apply Hydro as frequently as Kokomi. That being said, Kokomi is generally not able to provide enough Hydro for vaporized teams with units like Yoimiya or Hu Tao. Kokomi provides enough Hydro application for freeze teams and electrocharge focus teams as long as players are willing to sacrifice additional damage from a Mona or Xingqiu for the comfort provided by Kokomi's healing and passable Hydro application. As an on-field unit, Kokomi can act as a decent driver for units like Beidou and Fischl, allowing players to use Xingqiu on other teams. As for units that quickly apply Pyro like Zhongling, Kokomi tends to struggle to keep up with her Hydro application. Units like Xingqiu and Tartaglia can already supply enough Hydro for Zhongling without the help of external factors, which makes Kokomi a subpar substitute for them in Zhongling's teams. Despite her shortcomings, Kokomi does have her own specific advantages when compared to the rest of the Hydro units. Because she is a Catalyst user who has an elemental skill that ticks consistently, she can make use of the Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayer's Catalyst and the 4-piece Tenacity of the Millilith set. Thrilling Tales provides HP %, which Kokomi appreciates, along with a passive that allows Kokomi to provide a massive attack buff to one teammate. Additionally, her healing should not be ignored since popular teams like Morgana or Taser previously did not have access to a strong healer. Kokomi's contribution to team damage is relatively unclear, since optional buffing options are external to her kit like Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers or Tenacity of the Millelith. Owning Xingqiu, Mona, and Child make her much less appealing for damage-focused players, but her healing and comfort shouldn't be discounted because of her lacking personal damage. The biggest issue with Kokomi from a meta-oriented point of view is that strong healing simply isn't a necessity in Genshin. In the overworld, players can simply eat food, and in Abyss, players can simply reset floors if they die. This makes one of the biggest benefits that Kokomi offers, healing, less relevant. Additionally, Barbara, who is a 4-star unit, can offer many of the utilities that Kokomi does. Barbara can offer Hydro application, healing, and Thrilling Tales of Dragon Slayers buffing, although she will generally be worse at most of these things compared to Kokomi. Her constellations mainly increase the amount of healing she provides and her personal damage. Her first constellation, At Water's Edge, can change certain setups as the extra projectile can apply Hydro, but it isn't game-changing. The next jump is at Constellation 4, The Moon Overlooks the Waters. Not only does this offer her attack speed, which ranged units appreciate, but it also lowers her energy requirements due to the energy refund. None of the other constellations provide a major utility or gameplay change. Her second constellation provides bonus healing to her allies when they are below 50% HP, which sometimes doesn't even come into play, and her sixth constellation, while giving a large boost, doesn't provide much other than an increase in damage. So unless you are mainly trying to push her personal damage, her constellations are generally not worth going for. So, when should you pull for Kokomi? Sangonomiya Kokomi provides similar tools to many of the current Hydro units in the game, along with her healing and lower investment ceiling. She can act as a general Hydro unit for comfort play, and can open different team compositions if your Hydro units are contested like Xingqiu. Although she isn't a stellar unit in most players' eyes, she certainly is not an unusable unit. She is generally worse than other Hydro units in many areas, but if players don't have units like Child and Mona, and need Xingqiu for another team, or simply want more comfort in their gameplay, Kokomi can help improve a player's teams. Now, when should you not pull for Kokomi? If you already own Xingqiu, Tartaglia, and or Mona, there is little reason outside of comfort to pull for her. Xingqiu and Tartaglia provide more than enough Hydro for their teams, and Mona provides a larger damage bonus to team comps compared to Kokomi. Her low personal damage will also not aid you in clearing content, unless the content is based around survivability, in which other units can provide similar levels of comfort, such as Noelle, Chi-Chi, and Barbara. Thanks for watching this quick overview of the Keqing Main's Theory Crafting staff's initial thoughts on Sangonomiya Kokomi. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will do our best to answer.